I'm laying here in the chair, pull-out bed at the hospital beside Kendall, and she's sleeping. It's 2 a.m., and I can't sleep. I've been writing. I've had a lot on my mind, as always. I think my mind flows 24 hours a day. Blessing, curse, I don't know. But here lately, in the past couple months since we've moved here, the devil has really, really fought us on everything. You know, the day after we moved down here, Landon got sick, and then a couple of days later I got sick, and Kendall got sick, and then Gary got sick, and it's been nothing but sickness for months now. And, you know, then Papa getting sick, and we had just came back from Virginia. Like, we weren't even back yet, and Landon was sick. The day we got home, Kim, my friend, dropped us off, and about 45 minutes later, she was back at the house keeping Kendall so I could take Landon to the pediatric urgent care because he had a very high fever and a bunch of other symptoms, and he ended up having an ear infection, and then we had to take him back a couple of days later, and it turned into bronchitis, changed his antibiotics, and then he starts feeling better, and a day or two later, I come down with a horrible sinus infection, felt like I got hit by a truck, and it was just one thing after another. And then now that I'm getting better, Kendall's sick, and she's had a fever, and she's had nausea and different things, and she threw up the other day. She's had a pretty decent fever, and Gary, being a nurse, he's poking around on her belly and trying to fill in different areas, and around her appendix area. He said that that's where she was having a lot of pain, and but anyway, so we took her to the doctor today. We get there, and they are giving us a fit about insurance, saying that we're not covered, but we are covered, and it was a big mess. So he went to he tried to call HR at the hospital, All Children's, where he works, and he couldn't get anybody. So he drove to HR. Then they're trying to get it figured out, and they tell him to go to the ER with her. And at, let's see, I don't know, it was around 2 o'clock. I don't know, whatever time he got over here today, 1:30, 2 o'clock. He was here for hours and hours, about 6 or 7 hours or something. And they did several ultrasounds and x-rays of her chest and her abdomen. They did a CT scan. They've done all kinds of blood work. They had to stick her several different times. They had to get an IV and fluids in her. She's had, poor little thing's had a very rough day, and she just really hasn't felt good. She still had a fever. Her fever's finally broke now, and they wanted to keep her overnight, and they want to do labs again in the morning. They're trying to rule out appendicitis. And I say all this to tell you, life is messy sometimes, and sometimes it feels like it's a constant fight. And the enemy, it's like, I feel like, I was telling Penny earlier, a friend of ours, Penny, I love you, Penny. I was telling her earlier today, it just feels like a boxing match. I mean, it's like, the enemy throws a blow at you, and then you come back at him, and, and sometimes we can't. Sometimes we're too weak to fight, and I think he comes to exhaust us and to wear us out, and to completely just wear us completely out, because when we're wore out, it's hard to fight, and it's hard to have that will to fight, and sometimes we have to rely on other people to help us. But, this time, it's really weird. Like, I've still had peace about it, and, God has a plan. He's got a purpose, and, the enemy wants to wear us out, and he wants us to make us basically useless. And but when you change your perspective, everything around you changes. Like, there's hope. There's no, if you see it as a constant negative thing, and constantly trying to steal your joy, and you're not digging into the Word, and you don't know what God says about you, and you don't know that these are strategic attacks straight from the pits of hell, then of course you're going to be discouraged, and of course you're going to be down in the dumps, and think that life's not worth living. And but when you know where the attacks are coming from, and just like if you're playing football and you know the strategy of the opposite team, you know how to be defensive, you know how to come back with the defensive play. And I'm not going to act like I know a lot about football. I don't. But I do know that you have to know what the other team is coming at you with if you want to be good, in your defense. And I just want to encourage you, whatever you're going through, to just change your perspective and realize that God has a plan, and that He can teach you something through it, even though it may seem like it's a negative thing. But just stay strong. Don't let the enemy lie to you. Don't believe his lies. I'm going to go to bed, but I love you guys.